Blood in the mud, the dark nexus of pig farms and criminal enterprise. There's something about pig farms that unsettles the imagination, filthy, remote, and steeped in organic decay. These are not just agricultural sites, but sensory assaults. The squealing of animals, the churn of slop, the stink of blood, excrement, and rot. It's here, in these forgotten corners of rural life, that some of the darkest criminal activity has thrived. From serial killings to drug trafficking and organized mob executions, pig farms have proven to be uniquely suited for hiding secrets, particularly human ones. What makes pig farms so appealing to criminals? It's not just the isolation or the harshness of the landscape. Pigs themselves are remarkable creatures, intelligent, hardy, and disturbingly efficient in their consumption of organic matter. When forensic specialists say a pig can devour a human body in hours, bones and all, they're not exaggerating. This macabre biological fact has elevated pigs from barnyard livestock to a recurring character in true crime nightmares. The pig farm butcher, Robert Willie Pickton. Robert William Pickton wasn't what most people picture when they imagine a monster. He was a wiry, awkward man with a slow speech pattern and an apparent learning disability. Born in 1949 to Leonard and Louise Pickton, he was raised on the same 17-acre farm in Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. That would become the epicenter of Canada's most disturbing murder case. His mother was known for her iron will, cruelty to animals, and obsession with hard work. Robert, called Willie by locals, dropped out of school in the 9th grade and drifted aimlessly through life until he inherited the farm along with his brother David. Targeting the invisible. Between 1995 and 2001, Pickton hunted some of society's most invisible people, sex workers and drug-addicted women from Vancouver's downtown east side. These women were already living on the fringes, and their disappearances barely registered with police at first. Many victims had strained or non-existent family ties. When they vanished, there were no front-page headlines, no Amber Alerts, just silence. Pickton exploited this apathy with chilling precision. He lured women to the farm with the promise of drugs or shelter. Once there, he raped, killed, and dismembered them with cold efficiency. He sometimes kept trophies, pieces of jewelry, scraps of clothing, even heads stored in buckets. He allegedly injected antifreeze into one woman as a means of immobilization. A police informant later revealed that Pickton bragged about taking his victims to a special place on the farm, a converted slaughterhouse where he could work without interruption. There, with meat hooks, winches, and power tools, he committed his atrocities under the guise of animal butchery. On February 5, 2002, investigators executed a search warrant at the Pickton farm, not for murder, but for illegal firearms. What they found soon eclipsed their initial cause for concern. Forensic specialists spent over 20 months on site in what became Canada's largest and most expensive crime scene investigation. The scene was nightmarish. Human remains were found in freezers, feed barrels, and beneath pig pens. Investigators used heavy equipment to dig through soil saturated with blood and manure, recovering over 200,000 DNA samples and thousands of bone fragments. Among the remains was a skull cut in half and stuffed with hands and feet. Some remains had been ground into mush and mixed with animal feed, which was then fed to pigs. Others had been rendered into lard, processed in the farm's industrial meat grinders. Perhaps the most horrifying revelation was that human flesh may have entered the local food supply. Pickton allegedly processed meat tainted with human remains and distributed it to friends, neighbors, and even restaurants. The meat was not officially inspected or certified, making it impossible to trace. The Canadian government issued public health warnings, but many residents never found out whether they had consumed human-contaminated pork. Pickton confessed to killing 49 women and said he wanted to make it an even 50. Despite the discovery of DNA from 33 women on the property, he was only charged with 26 murders, later reduced to 6 to expedite trial. He was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison with no parole eligibility for 25 years. In May 2024, he was fatally assaulted in prison by another inmate. His death closed the case legally, but the trauma still reverberates through Canadian society. Susan Monica, a former engineer and Army veteran, moved to rural Weimar, Oregon in the early 1990s to live off-grid. By 2012, she'd created a survivalist enclave on her 20-acre pig farm, where she raised pigs, stockpiled supplies, and used Craigslist to recruit laborers to maintain the property. Her victims, Stephen Delicino and Robert Haney, were handymen with troubled pasts, men easy to disappear. Monica would later testify that she shot both men after arguments and then allowed her pigs to eat their bodies. The horror came to light after Haney's family reported him missing. When detectives visited Monica's property, they found buckets of decomposed human remains, a freezer containing body parts, and bloodstains in her workshop. Monica insisted she killed both men in self-defense, but later admitted on the stand, "I do not value human life very much." She was convicted on multiple charges of murder, abuse of a corpse, and identity theft. During sentencing, she displayed no emotion. Her pigs, authorities noted, had consumed nearly everything. While Robert Pickton's murders earned national attention, his farm was already notorious among law enforcement. Through Piggy's Palace, a supposed non-profit, the Picktons hosted massive parties on the property. What began as charity events morphed into drug-fueled orgies attended by members of the Hells Angels, corrupt politicians, and criminal kingpins. The farm became a nexus of criminal activity, prostitution, trafficking, and illegal gambling disguised as community events. Investigators believe these parties provided a hunting ground for Pickton and a cover for his growing network of victims. I-4. Mob tactics. Feeding the problem to the pigs. The Patriarcha Pig Farm, Massachusetts. In the 1950s, the Patriarcha crime family in Massachusetts used a pig farm in Stoughton for laundering money and hiding bodies. James Bratzos, a low-level enforcer, vanished in 1954 after reportedly betraying the family. His body was never recovered, but informants later indicated it had been fed to pigs on the Patriarcha property. FBI wiretaps later captured consigliere Ilario Zanino describing pig-based body disposal techniques, noting they were clean, fast, and permanent. V. Global Crime and the Agricultural Cover, Ecuador's billion-dollar pig farm, 2024. In January 2024, Ecuadorian soldiers raided a pig farm in Los Rios province, uncovering a cocaine cache worth over $1.1 billion. Hidden beneath pig enclosures and feed silos, the drugs were branded with airline logos like Lufthansa and Etihad, suggesting international trafficking ties. Investigators also discovered military-grade weapons and encrypted communication devices. Cartel operatives had turned the farm into a full-scale narcotics hub, using the pigs to mask unusual vehicle traffic and equipment purchases. Zix, the cultural echo, Geel. Sutherland's pig-fueled murder plot. In 2025, Geel Sutherland was arrested in New York for plotting a murder-for-hire scheme that explicitly included pig-based body disposal. His belief? If there's no body, there's no crime. His chosen method, feeding the body to pigs, was inspired by Pickton's case and other media portrayals. Unbeknownst to him, the pig farmer he hired was an undercover FBI agent. His arrest proved how deeply pig farm disposal has seeped into criminal mythology. C7. Narco ranching and the Latin American corridor. In Guatemala, narco cartels operate narco ranches, sprawling agricultural fronts used to launder money, store cocaine, and raise pigs or cattle as a cover. These operations are often guarded by paramilitary units and exploit weak regulatory environments. The animals aren't just cover, they're logistics. Trucks transporting pigs are less likely to be stopped and searched, especially if the operation carries legitimate paperwork. In some cases, pigs have been used to ingest and smuggle drug pellets, much like human mules. 8. Ireland's secret graves and the IRA. During the Northern Ireland conflict known as the Troubles, rumors emerged that the Irish Republican Army used pig farms to dispose of informants. While physical evidence is scarce, oral histories and IRA defectors mention pig farm disappearances, with bodies fed to livestock or buried under slurry pits. Due to the remote terrain and sectarian silence of the time, most allegations remain unconfirmed. 9. Why pig farms work for criminals. Key factors: rural isolation. These farms are often dozens of miles from the nearest police outpost. Environmental camouflage, blood, odors, and disposal tools blend naturally into the agricultural environment. Natural disposal agents. Pigs consume soft tissue, cartilage, and even bone, destroying evidence quickly. Low inspection rates, farm equipment, waste disposal, and refrigeration systems rarely face scrutiny. Biological erasure human decomposition accelerates in pig manure and can even eliminate DNA traceability. Conclusion. The farm as a front for darkness. Pig farms represent a terrifying convergence of utility and invisibility. They're agricultural businesses by day, and sometimes death factories by night. From Canada to Colombia, Oregon to Italy, these rural properties offer the perfect storm of isolation, plausible cover, and total physical erasure. Robert Pickton's story is horrifying, but it's not unique. His farm became infamous, but hundreds of others may remain unknown. The appeal of pigs for their silence, their hunger, their usefulness, is a chilling testament to how nature's functions can be co-opted for humanity's darkest purposes. The next time you drive past a lonely pig farm, consider this. Not all monsters hide in forests. Some are farmers,